Okay, now it's time for a carriage tour. There are two carriages. The Overland today is a little bit different to what it usually is, configuration-wise. It's a longer train today because there is a major event on at Adelaide called Tasting Australia, and that's like, I suppose, equivalent to the New South Wales Orange Food Train, I think it's called, for the Orange Food Week event, which is not actually a week, I think it's a couple of weeks. So that's on last week and this week it was on. So this is the main week of the event, and there is actually quite a few passengers on, so they had to put on extra carriages. So it's now time for a tour of the train. Now, as I've mentioned in my previous video that I have or have not uploaded possibly, this is my first time on the Overland, and I call it the Overlander because it is going over the Overland. So all we can see outside at the moment, we've passed the city area now, we're out into the country towards Geelong. So I think that's the first stop, somewhere out near Geelong. And when we pass Geelong, I'm going to go to the buffet when it opens. It's actually closed at the moment, so I'm just walking around and taking in the view, and also do a bit of train spotting, and also taking a walk to see what the other carriages are like. So these are really old trains, and they have a very different system to the XPT. So with the XPTs, you can walk through the carriages, but you don't have to actually press any buttons. You just walk through because it's sensor-based, I believe, because they're 1980s trains. With this train, it is so old, and they tend to do it with a lot of the trams and trains in Melbourne. They do it in the trams in Sydney as well, some of them. The press button, which is the green button, you have to press the green button to actually go through. And even apparently if someone else is in front of you, you still have to press the button. Now, I am so scared of this just in case I get stuck in between the two carriages. So this is how rickety the train is, it's so old. So I'm just going to show you the next, I won't go in because the carriages are basically the same in both of the economy, so-called economy or red class. And then there's the other side, which is the booked out one that I couldn't get a seat on, which is the red premium. You can't access the buffet from both ends like the XPT, from first class or economy. You actually can only access the buffet from either end. So if you're in the red premium, you can only access it from that end. You can't go from the red to the red premium. And the same with the premium. If you're in this you can only go to the buffet from the red, but you can't cross over, you can't go anywhere else except to the bathroom and to the other carriage here. You see in the other carriage here, you see that there is only 5 people in there apparently, or half a dozen at the most. The seats are empty. Now they put on an extra carriage because there are extra people. They couldn't fit everyone on, but I see a few spare seats, but that doesn't mean people aren't getting on like on the XPT in the country or regional towns and cities along the way, so that's why there are a few spare seats. The other thing is there is no luggage racks, so this is how they store their luggage. What happens if you don't have a handle like this, or a standard handle? You have to put it either checked in or over above in the overhead lockers. Well, they're not actually lockers, but they're for luggage storage. Now we'll talk about that as well. With these overhead luggage racks, they're actually a little bit less accessible than the ones on the XPT. The XPT ones have brakes in them. These ones are just solid, and they're a little bit hard to reach because they're higher up. They look like they're much higher up, and so yeah, very interesting how they've got this. I'm assuming they've modified this carriage to actually taken out a few seats and used it for excess storage or accessible wheelchairs and trams, you can see. The other thing I noted in a previous video is the seats. I don't know if I mentioned, I was talking with the passenger sitting next to me who I swapped seats with because I wanted a window seat. Not that there's much to see at the moment. It will get better. But the seats are a little bit higher up and there's more of an incline into them. So you put the seat right straight up and it's actually got a bit of a lean to it. So you're not sitting straight up. You're actually reclining a little bit in the upright position. The seats are really, really high. They're actually, my feet don't touch the ground. That's how high they are. Apparently they used to have little stepping stools for passengers that had shorter legs, and so they could put their legs on those. But when people got off the train, they never saw them again because they take off with them. And they used to get them from the buffet area. Apparently, if you needed more, you can ask the attendant to get you one. But yeah, theft was a big issue, and the flag or just being lost, I suppose, forgetting. I mean, that's another step you have to remember when you're boarding, having to alight, you have to return the stepping stools before you get off. So that was not practical. So look at the doors here. Now, let me explain about the locking system. It's so old that there's no mechanism on the doors to actually auto or manually unlock them by a passenger. You actually they're all, once you're on the train, you're on the train. You can't get off until you get the stop, and then it's manually opened at every stop if requested as a stop. So if they don't stop at every stop, just like the XPT, it's upon request when you book. Just a few things, and the other thing I want to note today is this morning it was dark, but in the morning the sun rose and it became very, very glary. So when it became very, very glary, you had to put the shades down, which are pull down shades rather than the curtains that we have on the XPT. And the person unfortunately behind didn't want the blind down all the way, so I had to adjust it to whatever I could, and it didn't block out the glaze, so I put a sun hat on, one with a flap, to stop the glare from hitting my face so badly. The other things to note here is there is a drinking, well, no, there isn't a drinking fountain. Oh, my mistake. I thought that this little nook here was a drinking fountain, but it's not. It's actually for a fire extinguisher, very necessary, and hand sanitizer everywhere. But that's probably from COVID, leftovers from COVID. You hear the train is very, very noisy, and on top of the noisiness and the rattling of the train, there is a precaution to actually, when you're going through each of the carriages, especially the buffet and to other in between carriages, you need to watch your step as well because it's not flush. The joints are not flush. So you've got to watch your step, never step over it, which is another thing I don't look forward to doing. And toilets, yes, there is a toilet here, and this is the type of toilet there is. Now, this is my nightmare toilet. So there's a press button again, but you have to actually lock it from the inside. Sorry. So.
Now it is industrial, but it's also residential, and it features a magnificent waterfront area full of retail, hospitality, tourism and
There's a bit of a commentary going on now as well.
Our first stop for the day, which is North Shore Geelong. Thank you.
North Shore Geelong. Wow. As opposed to just Geelong. Must be in the middle of nowhere. So, we're going to the first stop. It's about an hour and a half out of Melbourne City. So that's basically it for now for this video, but I will do another video as I get further and further towards Adelaide. I hope I don't have to use the bathroom because it is... I just don't want to use it. I'm scared of locking myself in or not being able to unlock myself or not locking it properly, which I have done, as I mentioned previously, on the XPT, thinking I had locked it, and faulty doors as well, because I think it's a sliding door, so they're my nightmare toilets. Really, really bad. So thanks for watching.